Hey everybody, I know it's been a while. Been busy harvesting. Still busy harvesting. Playing with the dogs. It happened again. My Bartlett pear here, I had it all the way into I had it into the kind of natural shape again where it kind of looks like a Christmas tree shape. Kind of wider at the bottom and skinnier at the top. Well, it got going like that with a central leader. It had a nice shape to it. Had a bunch of pears on the top of it. And same thing happened that's happened in previous years. A wind will show up overnight and just rip it in half out of nowhere. So I'm going to work on cleaning this up, and I don't know what the proper way to prune this thing is, because this has now happened I think 3 times. And it's a pretty significant sized branch too, or the trunk there. It's pretty big. So, that just seems to be a pattern that happens here. I don't know. So if anybody has suggestions about what to do about this, maybe I should have a more open shape to it, or kind of keep it lower. I may look through my pruning book and try to figure out some other shape that might be a little bit better for it. But it dropped a whole pile of fruit that was, kind of mostly ripe. And actually the same thing happened, not with this one. This one's a Bosch. This one's been okay. The same thing happened with the Fuji apple over here. So there was some there was a couple upright branches, and I thought, these are going to be really hard to harvest. Well, not anymore. Check it out. Snapped right in half. That one snapped. And I believe a couple of them over here snapped. So there was 1, 2, I think there was 3 or 4 back there that were pretty big. They all bent over, and it looked like a bunch of them broke in half. So, yeah, it seems I'm learning the same thing that probably orchardists learn, which is the shape of the tree is important. Really important, too. And you got to know the conditions that your tree is going to be growing in, because that makes a difference if you have these east winds that show up randomly, or some other thing that happens. Maybe you get strong rains. Maybe you have lots of moles that like to dig under here. I don't know. Whatever your conditions are, there's probably some shape for it. And that's probably why there's so many different types of pruning techniques, because there's just lots of different conditions. But other than that, Fuji seems pretty happy this year. Looks like the same thing is kind of happening that I was talking about earlier, which is the fruit seems relatively bug-free, which I'm really surprised by. Every one I look at, that one doesn't have any cuttling moth damage, and neither does that one. They got sunburn, sure. That one's particularly burnt. But the cuttling moth, that one has one. It took a break this year, I guess. I don't know. Man, that's crazy. So I might actually get a bunch of these to ripen this year. Usually, especially with Fuji, almost all the apples get destroyed by cuttling moths. So I end up grinding them into applesauce, or doing apple cider, or some other thing to use them up, because they're not, you can use them fresh, but they tend to have tons of bugs in them. So I think I've talked about this before, that the weird fruits are the ones you want. Like this persimmon over here. No bug damage at all. 0. So if you don't like bugs in your fruit, don't grow the stuff that's in the grocery store. Man, that Bosch is tall. Oh, my other point I was planning on talking about was I got some Wicksons over here that are growing, and they are just about done. It's on the Bramley seedling tree that I grafted, and they don't have any bugs on them either. But I had a friend over here not too long ago. We were talking about apple varieties, and we were wondering if the varieties that have less bug problems are the ones that are kind of like more wild tasting, you know? So, looks like some of them fell off. This is Wickson. It's a little crabby apple. This one's got bugs on it. But let's see if I can find some other ones. Like for instance, this one looks good. This one looks good. These three look fine. And the other interesting thing is the ones that are next to each other look okay, which, well, actually, yeah. So like some of them have damage there, but on Fuji, I noticed that like basically every apple that touches, you'll have coddling moth or some kind of like bug damage, like right there. This one looks good. And I read that Wickson is actually a late season variety, and that's interesting. That we tried a couple of these the other day, and they were really good. So I think they get even more intense than what they already are, which is kind of crazy. Albert Etter bred these guys. There's one that has probably some sunburn or some bug damage. And they're both intensely, I think, tart and sweet. It's a very interesting combination of flavors. They're very intense, and people tend to like them, and they have kind of like an umami flavor to them as well. They're really good. And then the rest of this tree, this half is Wickson, this half is Bramley seedling. This Bramley seedling's a weird one, but I didn't get much on this except for like these couple down here. So there are like 3 there. They look like they're probably gonna ripen, so we'll see. Ugh. Maybe I'll try one of these Wickson again on the camera. Like maybe this one. Yeah, this one's got a little bug in it. Let's see how this one tastes. Whew. Wow. They're so intense. It's like if you combined a Granny Smith with like a really sweet apple. Very interesting. I tend to like the apples that are crazier anyway, so these are the ones I like. I've got Ash Meets Kernel on at Fuji over there. Also, I have Spitzenberg, Bramley seedling. Newtown Pippin was a good one. I got on there too. So I got a whole bunch of like more intensely flavored ones. And that was actually the criteria I was looking for when I was looking for apple varieties, which was which apple tastes the most intense? Like which one's gonna blow me away? And my wife was looking at a thing for people that are autistic the other day, and it was saying that people that do what I'm doing, which is go after really intensely flavored foods, are sensory seeking. Yeah, it might be. But those are the ones I like. I think Ash Meets Kernel was the one that was like, it like explodes in your face. It's like so crazy. Well worth growing if you want to deal with the bug problems and the other craziness that apples have to deal with, but good little crab apple. Wickson. All right. Well, I'm going to keep screwing around with the food forest, and I'll talk to everybody later.